Hello, hello. How's it going, everybody? Is the music good? Yeah, all right. Bunch of updates lately. And it's not easy to keep everything in sync and make sure it's all working. Hi, yes, boss. This kitty wants to say hi, but doesn't want cuddles, just wants to be pet. So, how's everybody doing? Have a good week. I have been putting in a bunch of time into getting all of our Blender models into our overlay in the scene here. So there should be, fingers crossed they work, some new features. Actually, I need to put them in the description below so it's a little bit more accessible for people to try out. So we can do an index on a command, and we can actually have a dynamic color that we pass on, which is pretty nifty. That texture took a long time to load there. Let's try. And I did put which way are we going? There, the commands in chat. So now you can see as we're typing in commands. Okay, there we go. Sweet. That was a really hard one to read, but and our stacking could potentially still use a little bit of work. But that's kind of cool. And then we also have a channel pipe redemption. If you redeem drop columns, this was a previous model we made with all the physics. So speaking of the physics and previous models that we made, we have, how many do we have? We've got 4 models, not including the ones that just fell down, that we made in Blender, and we haven't actually pulled into any of our scenes or anything. So I think I should have a little bit of time today. So I think we'll try to pull at least one or all of these models into our scene. Maybe we can get that pushed up and set up already today. And depending on how fast that goes and how much time we have left, we might open up Blender and give another model a whirl quick. Let me organize my windows right quick. Okay, all right, let's switch over. So the physics that we're using is a newer library called React 3 Rapier. It is within the I don't know that I've actually ever said that. Poimandres team. Let me know if I'm saying that right. And it's pulling in a library called Rapier, which is originally written in Rust, and it has a few other libraries that they put out as part of that integration. So they have the original Rapier, and then they have a Bevy integration. Bevy is a game engine written in Rust, and then JavaScript. And I believe they use, I think we looked at it in previous streams, they use Wasm bindgen to build the Rust and put it into a Wasm file in which a browser can then load. So with the Rapier integration written and the physics written, the integration into React 3 Fiber happens through this package. So this pulls in the Rapier dependency, which is not in this one. Where are you? There we go. So that's how we get to where we are. And within the physics system, things work a little bit different than some of their examples, so we've kind of had to pay attention to that. But for the most part, we're doing very similar things. Whoa, that's really hard to see. Running the library GLTF JSX, we can convert a GLTF exported from Blender into a model that is effectively hooked up with meshes and the React 3 fiber setup. So this is a little bit, this is more what you might expect from the output of that. So we made in, I guess, the past 2 or 3 streams, we made a cup. I guess it's the last 2 streams, we made a cup, and then we were working with geometry nodes, and there's a little bit of generation things in there. So it made it easier to spin up a couple more models. So we actually, as part of that stream, we did 3 models, I guess. So we got the torus, a sphere, and a star. I started looking at integrating the cup. So when we run it through this this library here, this is what you might expect to get out. It does create a GLB, which is a binary version of a GLTF. Because one of the inputs that I gave it, I created a GLB, which is a smaller file than the original GLTF. Otherwise, we'd have to be importing the GLTF directly. For this use case, I don't think it's going to matter much because we're mostly using it in the scene, and the scene loads before the stream starts. So not a big deal either way. But you can see that the transformed versions do tend to be slightly smaller. Kind of contrived examples. These are pretty small models. But like the cup, there's pretty big difference in the cup. So if this was something you're actually deploying to the web, where you're having lots of people hit it, and the transfer time for downloading these assets and or it's both how long it takes to get to the user, but the fact that then you end up having to pay for that bandwidth, depending on what service you're using. So it's good to know about that. So we ran it with the transform, so it gives us a binary version. And then we have, in this case, we have one mesh rather. And that's about it that goes into it. And then there's the helper hook, use GLTF to make it easier to load. And that's all we have here pretty much. I had started off stream working on the cup. Here we'll look at this column that drops. This one I wired up to where it's that channel part redemption that you saw, and then it drops everything down. It is bringing in this model as an instance here. An instance means that we bring in the model once and we reference it. So every copy of it is a reference. So we're not actually loading in the model 50 times or 25 times. Loading in the model once and using like I guess it's just references. I'd actually be curious how it's like implemented and whatnot, but we're just pointing to that geometry rather than copying that geometry, which ends up being more performant. So this is theoretically running on my computer as I'm streaming, so it's nice to be conscious of the extra. That is hilarious. I have my alerts set up and I forgot to filter out the chat. So I bet you every chat message you send is gonna do one of those. We should actually fix that real quick here. The emos are kind of funny too. That's a fun bug. Of the bugs to have, that's a fun one. Go ahead and try the check the channel point redemptions and do drop columns. Well, you were giving that a trigger. Let's see. That should be in alerts. So, yeah. So today we're going to try to put in more models. We've got that one loaded, and we've got another 4 that are in the queue that we want to load. Nice. Yeah, the other 2 are they're just to trigger the thing. I think obviously every message showing up there is probably not the best experience. But it would be nice to have some channel point redemptions that show stuff there. So that was the idea behind some of those. It's a feature, not a bug. You can, the intended feature was you could do a command like this. The index colon and a number is a dynamic material, so that that number refers to a material. So that was the intended feature. Every chat message is not. Okay, so in our text layer, we are just taking in a channel alert. So in our channel alerts, we are filtering out. We're only filtering out awards. So you got to do 3D index the number, and then yeah, there you go. And I think it goes up to 640. 640, I think, is the highest you can go. Otherwise, it just defaults to number 1, which is blue, I believe. So that actually comes out of the mat cap. No, let's do React 3 fiber mat. I think they've got something in the docs. Let's go to the table of contents. That'll be quicker. Mat cap texture, and here. So those are texture materials that are being pulled from this. That's hilarious. Okay, let's get that fixed. So we're not having a text show up literally every time somebody types something. So we've got use switch pulls in all the alerts. On our alert canvas, we only want to pay attention to, I guess we kind of would just, I thought we filtered this ahead of time. Use Twitch. Didn't we filter this up front? I might have taken out that filter up front. Build event. Yeah, okay. So we should be doing so the reason I did on chat, so the library we're using is called Comfy.js. Comfy.js uses TMI.js, which hits the Twitch IRC. So the chat is IRC based. That doesn't contain all of the like Twitch functionality. So some things like the rewards, you need to open up a WebSocket. So it's PubSub. So anything PubSub is not handled by TMI, but Comfy.js handles it. So that's why we're using Comfy.js. So that gives us both PubSub and the IRC. But there are still events, such as the follow event, that don't show up in either of those. So the cheeky thing that we were doing was, or planning to do, was if we do on chat, we could filter on any chats that come in and look at any chats that come in from Streamlabs that say we got a follow and use that to create the message. But clearly I didn't finish that part out and filter everything out there. So the follows aren't actually going to work right now, which is not the end of the world. But let's go ahead and push that up real quick. Oh, my alias is not working. So we're just going to comment out on chat. Remove chat events from Twitch event stream. Guessing we're probably going to have to reload the scene or the browser source once we're done here. So I'm gonna open up Netlify on the side so we can watch this build, and then I'll just refresh it manually. This is running and using Vite, so it should go pretty quick here. We were originally using Parcel.js, but we kept running into issues with the cache. I don't know. Frustrating. I like Parcel.js generally, and it was a lot more work to get Vite working. But it runs just as fast, if not faster in some situations. And I'm not having the cache issue, so yeah, it is what it is. Okay, we got the build. Let me go ahead and refresh, turn it off, and turn it back on again. So every time it loads, it does fall down. And as we put more models, it's going to be chaos at some point because they're all going to fall at the same time the first time I load it. So what we're doing is in our WebGL scene, we are importing those as instances, and we spawn in the instance, and then when we get an event such as drop column or whatever the new events are going to be called, we're just resetting the position of a subset or smaller number of all the instances that we've generated. So that's why when it first loads, you get the drop and everything comes through. So hopefully, no more text every chat. There we go. Okay, so let's see if we can get the star in here. There is, I started working on the cup. That's sort of the next one on the docket. We did the column. So this W flange is I guess the technical term for that column. Then we did the cup, and then we did the torus, the sphere, and the star. So I was going to do the cup next, but an interesting thing that I'm running into with the cup is we have the cup, and then we have the handle. Those are two meshes. And I don't know how to integrate the instanced meshes with the two meshes. Because the way our physics system is working, it seems to expect that arg to be filled in. And I'm pretty certain this is the way to do it. You don't give it an arg, and then you just put all the meshes within here. But the physics system doesn't seem to like it. It seems to be expecting this to have a value there so we can actually iterate through it. So if we look at the flange or the column, we have that filled in with the geometry. So let's set that one aside for the moment. I think all of the others are, yes, one mesh. So we could do all those pretty quick, and then we'll come back to the cup. This, again, has been run through the GLTF JSX. That's hard to say. So that's all been wired up through that, and we just want to wire it up to the events so we can get it to drop. So we're going to end up effectively copying a bunch of this over here. So we're going to, let's do the star first. I feel like doing the star. So we're effectively going to copy most of this over. And then I think once I get these all set up, off stream, I'll probably pull out some of these functions and have it be something that's importable. But we'll just do some copying and we can deal with it from there. So our imports are similar, but we have a couple additional imports here. No, it doesn't import it. It's going to be from items. Star transform GLB. So we have two instances of this. There is a preload, and that actually like loads it into memory. I don't know exactly what it's doing, but I'm assuming it's doing something like a script tag or something, where it loads that ahead of time. And then this wires this hook wires our import of it up to the preloaded model. We need to, so we got the use alert in here. We want to get the same props. I think all of this we end up wanting to keep as well. So this is setting up we're pulling in the stream of events, and in this case we're filtering and checking to make sure that it matches the channel point redemption message, or the what do they call it, I guess? The title, maybe? Channel point redemption title. This is setting an initial position for when it first loads in, and then when we toggle the drop, we are resetting a position. We need to remove all of the, when it drops and gets into physics land, it can rotate and get linear velocities and angular velocities. So we need to reset all of that so it's falling in the same way every time. Otherwise, especially in the case of the columns, if we don't reset that and they're coming down, the next time if we just move them, they might be like this. And if you effectively transport two things on top of each other, we get into like, Star Trek episodes where they talk about beaming Scotty up and he shows up in a pile of goo. And how it ends up being reflected here is they just go whoop and then just fly everywhere, which is kind of fun, but most of the time you can't see it because it's happening above the scene. So then we're resetting the translation, which is the position of the object. And you can see here we're using right now the same locations. We'll have to think about it a little bit because we set this for each instance of this mesh. As we start adding in more meshes, these things could be spawning in at the exact same time. So especially in the first load, it's going to spawn in at the same time. But somebody could do a channel part redemption on a cup, and then the flange, and then the star. And then we need to make sure that they're not like appearing on top of each other. So that's something we'll have to think about a little bit, but I think that's a problem for future Jacob. So we'll go ahead and just copy all this over. This ends up being pretty similar. The main difference is we are wrapping it in instanced rigid bodies, which is the component that's used and pulled in from React 3 Rapier. So that's the thing that gets the system to recognize this as a physics object that it needs to consider in its calculations. And then instance mesh is our actual mesh. So we'll move these pieces over. Receive shadow, interesting. Okay. I'm actually going to put that on. So I think on the flange as well, we only have cast shadow. Yeah, let's do receive shadow there too. Okay, so this should give us, if I go ahead and reload, it should drop everything in. Well, first of all, where'd the columns go? So it's possible. Here, I'm going to go ahead and trigger a column drop. Oh, there we go. Okay. Now we got some error output, which would explain why it's not working. Unfortunately, a lot of this React 3 fiber, when it errors, it errors. Oh, we still have the cup in there. And we did not pull in the star. So the cup is definitely giving us issues, and as mentioned before, we need to deal with it, but not at the moment. So let's go ahead and just give that a pass for the moment. We are going to import star from star.jsx. Star and no cup. And I'm guessing we also need to export to default. What? Those don't look like my model. So we might not be able to use the GLB. We can try recreating it. Do we even need to? We might be able to just use the GLTF directly. Let's just try using star GLTF. I'm pretty sure it exists. Did it actually delete those when I did I put those in a different folder? I do not remember now. Items. Did it actually delete those when I wonder if it deleted those. No, but we have Blender models somewhere. So we got the Blender model in the structure, but we don't have it there. Oh, wait, what? What did I do? What happened to those? So we had originally saved Blender models in. I thought we saved it in that assets folder, which probably isn't the best place to put it. Okay, so this only did do that. Oh. We are on a branch. We need to switch back. There we go. Okay. So we did. I actually committed all of the Blender and GLTF files but I did not commit the GLB because I created those after the fact via running that GLTF JSX script which ended up creating the GLB files. Go ahead and start back up. There we go. Okay. Do I have this showing up twice? Test overlay. Sure enough. Yep, it's using the test one. That's actually going to be nice. So we can toggle that on while we're testing. I'm going to turn it off right now so we're not getting the layers, so we just see it on this scene. Okay, so this is using the GLTF. It does not come in how we might expect. So this is the star. We are using the GLTF item starter GLTF. So we're using the original model. I wonder if it has issues with the geometry nodes. That would kind of be unfortunate. Console.log nodes. Let's see what's in the nodes property. So when we can open a Blender here and look at them in a second. What change did I just do? I don't remember what I did now. Nodes. Oh, okay. Browser. That's where I was going. Why is it not logging out the nodes? Star this. We should be getting nodes. That's curious. Do we have a weird input or something? Star from star.jsx. We're doing that. We're passing it the Twitch stream, and that would be like the events that are coming from Comfy.js. Should be logging out nodes. Is it possible that some of this is undefined or something? So star is pointing there and there. Oop. No, we just saw it. Too late. Just restart it. Okay. Nodes, materials. So we get a cube and a scene. Position matrix. Layers, children. So that's interesting. We may end up having to do something like, if it can't handle the geometry nodes, when we export it, we may need to pay attention to that. Let's go ahead and pop open Blender. I'm gonna lay out the scene for a minute here. Forgot to give OBS a higher priority. Okay. So that should, when we're running Blender, make sure we don't get any hiccups. So it's going to always prefer the rendering in OBS first over whatever we're doing in Blender. So even if Blender is taking up a lot of resources, OBS should be the priority and always keep our bitrate going here. Because sometimes Blender can take a little bit of time. There we go. So we're looking at the star. Let's go ahead and open up our star here. We have the geometry nodes here. We start from the group input. So if we just straight away did this instead, I think this is what we're getting. I think it's literally outputting this rather than the geometry we'd expect here, which is, I guess, this one. Yeah. So I suspect there's got to be some way to like flatten this geometry as part of the export. We go into GLTF and apply modifiers. I would be willing to bet that is our issue here. It's red because we already have a GLTF, star.gltf. Let's look through all the other things. We do want to include everything, so we don't want to limit. I don't really care about the cameras. transform is fine. We want to apply the modifiers. I don't know about that one. Automatic is fine. I guess we're not going to worry about compression. We will want to do something with animation eventually. But it looks like everything's checked here anyway, so I don't know that we'll have to worry too much about that. But I think the thing that we wanted was apply modifiers. So if we look at our scene here, let's just cancel it for a moment. We've got a cube, and then we got the modifier. The modifier is these geometry nodes. The geometry nodes, if you haven't worked with them before, in Blender, we can use kind of visual coding almost to take an input, do some things quasi-programmatically, and have a different output. So based on this input, I'm basically producing a star. So we give it a cube, it goes through this whole little machine here, and then we get a star on the back end. And that's considered a modifier. So I believe that is the option that we were missing when we did the export here. So we will apply modifiers. We want to do GLTF in the same spot is fine. You can see Vite already reloaded. So we did get a different object in here. And it seems that things are slightly different. So we may actually want to rerun this GLTFX. I mean, we could do it with the binary option too. So when we run this command, you can see we're already in the folder. So it's probably in my history here. Yeah. So we've got a GLTF. We're running it with -S and -T. Which I was hoping for the help command. What are you doing? Do I still have it open? No. Why does it not like that? Try -help. Okay. I guess I'll just explain the options. So there is -S is the tag to have it apply shadows automatically. As far as I can tell, it's just doing this. It's just putting those on there. So I don't know that that's a big deal. But the -T is the thing that transforms it into a GLB. So it takes our GLTF and creates a binary form of it, which is fine for our use case, and we will end up using whichever one really works, I guess. Let's go ahead and run the star again. Hopefully it's not gonna give us troubles. Here we go. Okay, so we got an updated model. Thanks for the follow. Oh, I still have the follow alerts in there. Good, so I didn't completely break it. Yoshi boy. So we've got an updated star, and it doesn't have anything in it. That is surprising. I mean, it's fair, because like, look at our GLTF file that we exported. There's nothing there. So let's go back to our export. We may need to look into how this export is going. Hey Yoshi, how's it going? It is going pretty well. We are working with React 3 Fiber, which is a web library written on top of Three.js, which interacts with the browser spec, I guess you would say, called WebGL, which lets you do 3D things in the browser. So if you do a channel point redemption, there should be a drop columns. That was one of the models that we made in Blender, which we're in right now. Exported it into our scene, and now we've got 3D models that y'all can interact with. And we've got another 4 models that we made on stream, so we are working on trying to get those into the scene as well. But these geometry nodes do not seem to be behaving. When we do this export, we have the apply modifiers turned on. It might be that Blender GLTF export limitations, maybe? I wonder if it doesn't support geometry nodes. I mean, that's probably fine. Quads and n-gons are automatically converted. Discontinuous UVs and flat shaded edges. Color, metallic, and roughness. I don't really know that I care too much. What are you doing right now? The way you state that makes me feel like I shouldn't ask. I don't know that I care about the materials coming out of Blender, because it's likely that we're going to overwrite them, but it's nice to have a base. You're converting from var to constant let. Yeah, I haven't had to do that for a while, but we still occasionally run across stuff that has that, and I think it's one of those quality of life improvements that kind of a. If you know how var works, it's not bad, but that caveat is what gets you, and there are cases where it can get you. So just not having to deal with that caveat is kind of nice. For anybody that's not aware, JavaScript used to just have var, and they added constant let. They theoretically all work the same. The big difference is when JavaScript runs, var is hoisted, meaning that it is effectively pulled and run first, which means that if you have some dependencies, if your code is dependent on how the order that your vars are defined, that ends up breaking it. Constant let are scoped, so they don't get hoisted like var does. Nice. Yep. WebStorm. Yeah, it's definitely nice to have an IDE that helps with that. Just do the thing for me. Usually, you still have to check it, but not having to do the busy work yourself is nice. So this is the one that we're doing. We are exporting it because it includes the mesh data and image data, encoded using base64, which is fine. Then I don't have to deal with. We're mostly not using. Our image data set should be small, if anything. So just not having to deal with it and have it inline is kind of nice. They do make this caveat, which is a good caveat to call out, but I don't think it's gonna. I don't think it's gonna affect us here. If we had lots of textures and/or decals or something that we're placing on our Blender models, it might be nice to pull those through, and you can have a separate pipeline that compresses just those specific textures. The difference between const and let isn't, like, it's not that big of a difference. The theoretically const is supposed to prevent you from changing the value. I think it only, and it's also dependent on like how you're bundling it and whatnot, but I think const only prevents you from changing the type. So like going from an object to an array, so that might prevent you from doing it. But honestly, like I feel like it doesn't. I don't tend to actually see it enforced. I think that was the intentions of the spec, though. So there's projects where we much prefer using const. There's projects where we prefer just using let everywhere. And sometimes a mix of each. I tend to write my code where I'll write it as a const if I'm expecting it not to change. Even though it's not really being enforced, it's nice to have like sort of the visual separation for me. And then if I have something that I'm expecting to change, then I use let. So if you're familiar with other languages, it's kind of a way for me to mentally differentiate if I'm expecting this variable to be mutable or not. Other options. So apply modifiers, excluding armatures. Thanks for the follow. Call me perfect. Hello, perfect. So we've got modifiers checked, and it should be applying them, but they don't have anything mentioning caveats about geometry nodes. GLTF export geometry nodes. Can geometry nodes export GLTF? I mean, I guess that's... If you add a realize instances node, you can get apply modifiers to work. Oh, okay. Let's give that. So there is a what is it? A realize, nope. Realize instances. So that is going to take a geometry input, and it's going to do a geometry output. I don't think we're going to notice the difference between what it was before and adding this realize instances. But what this is doing is it's basically, do we have it used anywhere else? Geometry to instance? No. This is like we've got a bunch of instances and stuff in here, and this is basically converting an instance into a single mesh. So it's possible that this might actually... I can believe it when they say that this is actually going to work. Making sure that we have apply modifiers checked. We still want to do embedded. Let's go ahead and export. We'll rerun this because our previous geometry was empty. If we look at it now, we do have some more things in there, so that's good. It looks like we still have a cube, so we might not actually be... We might not actually have improved anything. So our JSX that we've been working on is still pointing to nodes cube geometry, so that should be should be fine. I don't think we need to actually change anything. So just as a comparison, running, whoa, that was slow. Running the GLTF JSX command produces this. And we're effectively extending this and hooking it up to our Twitch stuff. So if you do a channel point redemption, do drop columns, it's hooked up to the events. We get a full physics thing. Otherwise, it's the main difference here is we get the mesh and we're converting the mesh into an instance. Hey, look at that. So that's I guess that's what we need to do. So let's go ahead and we're gonna have to do that for every model because I only did it on the one model, I think. I don't think we're gonna have to do it for the cup. But I kind of wonder if we're going to want to be able to like group those together somehow. The way that it's outputting it is still going to give us trouble, I think. So let's, am I using the transformed one? Are we using the binary? Let's check to see if we're using the binary. I think we are still using the non-binary format, which is GLB. Transformed. This is going to be a long process, even with WebStorm's help. The upside of having var versus const versus let, you don't have to do it all at once. And it's likely pretty safe to just find and replace. Search for like var space and just replace all. It's very unlikely. I mean, sure, I'm sure there's caveats and whatnot, but I would imagine it is very unlikely that you're relying on the hoisting with var. I don't know that that's been a common practice for many, many years now. So if you just search and replace for var and replace with let, that's probably going to be the fastest way, I would imagine. And you can search for like var space. Var space would give you any, because if you just search for var, somebody might have a variable or a property on a object called variable. And in those cases, it would be like variable or var colon, and those would both be filtered out if you search for var space. Okay, so we've got our nodes. We've got the stars dropping down. The material isn't the absolute coolest, but it's fine. We will continue to deal with that and improve it as we go. Okay, so GLB, we've got the binary version in. Let's go ahead and reload. It still does work. So I think we'll use the binary version. It'll be quicker to load. And I imagine that with the instances will mean that it runs much more performantly. So we're going to keep our star. Let's go ahead and close it. Can we close just a single? I don't want to quit Blender. Whatever, it's fine. It's fine, we'll just delete it. I don't need the backup. I'm just gonna keep this start.blend. blend. We don't need the star.js because we pulled in the pieces that we want from that. So all we are really working with here is we changed the star.jsx, star blend, star GLTF. And we'll do the GLB as well. we imported it and put it on the home page, or on the main model page. So we want to include that as well. And I'll just toss this in here. I don't know that I really care to do a separate commit for that. Okay, let's go ahead and commit that. Implement. Ooh. I just remembered we forgot something. What do you think of WebStorm as an IDE? I think it's fine. I mean, whatever floats your boat. I have used WebStorm a little bit, and I know people that use it. IntelliJ, NeoVim, VS Code is very popular. I've used Sublime Text in the past. I don't think I ever used Atom. Maybe briefly, but I mostly went like Notepad to Sublime Text for a while, and then I moved to VS Code. And I wouldn't say that I go deep into configuration of it. It's somewhat helpful to in the work that I do. Just the thing that pays me. It's nice to be able to have something that is not super customized and other people are reasonably familiar with. You can keep a good Visual Studio Code key map in JetBrains. Yep. Yeah, I mean, it is whatever makes you the most productive. As long as the people that you're working with are able to, if you need help from whoever you're working with, if they can help you in that ID, I don't ever see an issue. The teams that I work on, we don't have any specific requirements on IDs to use or whatnot. So yeah, if it works for you, cool. Okay, let's get. Oh, yes. Before we get distracted, we need to star. I only want to do it when we do drop star. So right now we've got drop columns, which Yoshi Boy has redeemed a couple times here. I wish it showed up here. So we'll add more. I think we'll just have one per model. And we'll just keep it consistent, call it drop star. We can extract that out a little bit too. Automatic spell checking is nice too. Yeah, I got a extension here. You can see here it's saying, hey, this is not a known word. A little bit less useful here. It does definitely catch things like if you do a variable with a word that's not particularly easy to spell, like occurrences. I was working on a project where I used a variable name occurrences. I have such a hard time spelling that. And I started it without a spell check extension. Oh boy, the errors that I caught once I put a spell check on here to say, hey, occurrences isn't a word. You need to spell it this way. Oh yeah, yep. That would explain why this isn't working. Yeah, I've got, I suppose we can look at the extensions real quick since we're talking about it. I've got a couple linters, toml. I do some Rust, so you'll see some Rust things in here in JavaScript. Those tend to be the ones that I am most involved with. I do have a GLTF tool. We could actually check that out real quick. So we're probably going to let's do the bump torus next. We can... Do I have to open it first? Yeah, I think I open it first. And nope, not split. How do I open it again? I thought it was a button over here. Oh, come on. Expand. It is there. Import. Yeah, okay. It's there. Why isn't it doing the things that I'm expecting it to? Ah, okay. Is it just does it not work on cup? There, okay. Export to GLB, validate to GLB. Just want to view it. One of these is a viewer. Oh, here we go. Preview. There we go. That's where I was expecting to see it. See? I really dig that. This built-in preview. What else do I got? This Gremlins, I imagine there's one for JetBrains projects as well. Anytime you're copying and pasting out of like a web page or something like that, sometimes you get invisible characters. It's so nice to have something that tells you have them, because you won't be able to see them. Which is why this extension is called Gremlins. Image preview stuff. Import cost is kind of nifty. It does this thing up here where it says if I import this, that's how much it's bringing in. So Python thingies, bunch of markdown plugins. This one lets you see mermaid diagrams, which is nice. Wiki backlinks. The VS Code theme that I use is Night Owl from Sarah Drasner. You might notice that I also have it applied to my terminal, which is, I guess, both a good and a bad thing. Bad in that sometimes it's hard to differentiate between the windows. Prettier, Rust Analyze are all things that help to just fix my code as I'm writing it rather than waiting to find out when I open up a PR. Guess that's about it. Word count is nice for when you're like writing a markdown file. A fair amount of like README editing and whatnot, and it's nice to be able to see a word count. And then this to-do tree is pretty nifty too. I don't know that I've got any here. Interesting. They've got a to-do and that's awesome. I don't really need to look at node modules, but okay. So I haven't done any here, but anytime you run into a thing and you want to make sure you write it down, that you come back to it, you can write to do, and this plugin will just like pick it up, and it'll just show up in a list of all the things that are listed as to do. So at minimum, putting up a to do and then converting those into Jira tickets or whatever system you're using, depending on context, it's nice to have a quick way to just like make a note and come back to it. You have a Discord Rich Presence plugin installed. The what does that do for you? Is that if you're writing a Discord bot and you have an output that you're sending to Discord API to post a message, you want to see how it's actually going to look once it actually shows up in a Discord chat? Is that what it's doing for you? And you're using Material Theme UI. Okay. Yeah, like I said, I'm not huge into customizing, and I like the Night Owl colors, so I used it, and like I've been using it for years now. Automatically shows what file and project I have open on your Discord profile. Oh yep, I've seen people do that. For anybody unfamiliar with Discord, it has a thing called Rich Presence, which if you run a game, like if you open up Modern Warfare or Fortnite or whatever you play, it'll say you can toggle it off, but it'll say, I think by default, underneath your name, a status saying that you're playing a game. But there's also plugins that let you say, hey, I'm actually in VS Code, or I'm in Yoshi Boy's case in WebStorm. It's kind of fun. Considering I work on a fair amount of client stuff, I probably would not ever use that for IP reasons, but it's kind of fun. Okay, so we got drop start. Let's get this committed. How are we doing on time? We'll probably throw a bunch of these up so we can have a few options. Implement star drop. And we're on more models. Yep, that'll work. I've got the signing, GPG signing. So all my commits are signed, and that's what that pop-up is. I actually do type in my password. It'll store it for a little bit of a timeout. But I do actually type it in pretty much every time I commit. You have used var way too much. Oh, I forgot to stage it. Blast. Okay. Include git commit dash amend. That will modify my last commit and include the currently staged star.jsx in that commit. Okay, so next, let's do the bump torus. We could probably do the bump torus and the spiky sphere, and the cup might be something that we push off for the moment. We exported both of those in the same manner, so I'm going to just go ahead and re-export both the bump torus and the other one. We need to search realize instances, redo u, we'll save, we'll do an export to GLTF, and ensuring we have apply modifiers checked. We're going to do embedded bump torus. There we go. And our spiky sphere, I guess. Search, realize instances, connect the dots, save, and export. I wonder if you could just like where's a remember these settings button? Remember export settings. Yes. No, I don't want it in the project. I mean, I guess. Just want to oversave it or save over the top of it. Or whatever. I guess it's not that big of a deal. I'm not doing this enough that it matters. Okay. So we've got all those, and then the cup. I don't know what we're gonna want to end up doing with that. It is kind of the same. I mean, I guess I would like to keep them separate, but we need to be able to combine multiple meshes together into one instance. We'll have to think about that. We'll have to play around with it at least. Okay. Let's close Blender. I don't think we're gonna need it for right now. I don't want the backup files saved, so I'm just gonna get rid of them. We want to do bump torus. I'm gonna rerun this on bump torus, and then we'll rerun it on the spiky sphere, and then convert those over. Bump and spiky. So I'll probably end up this. I think this cup is going to give us issues. So I might end up just pushing this up so we get an updated thing and we can quick try it out before the end of the stream with multiple things dropping. I will probably have to play with the scale a little bit too. I don't know that I paid too much attention to the scale. So we might have some pretty big cups. It might be a 3-foot tall cup. Yeah, want coffee, I guess. You get a big cup. So we copied this over already. Let's just see if we'll do the spiky sphere, I guess, since I have it open. Let's make sure nothing really changed. Spiky sphere. We're looking at the GLB. That's fine. Yep. Nothing changed there, so we can keep our original output. But we do have a new GLTF and a new GLB, which is the bit that we were worried about. Go ahead and save to run the formatter, get them to be wrapped nicely. Materials, group, mesh, all seem to be the same. Okay, cool. Let's go ahead and delete you. All right, so we got the torus open. Let's convert that one over. And we're gonna compare it to the star. That's how it's dying. Seems like you were making a line of code more complicated than it had to be. I feel like a lot of that too is just retrospect. You know, it's one of those situations where if you are writing code, if you come back to your code, 6 months later and you're like, oh, what was I doing here? This is just not good. I don't really see that as a bad thing. Like that is a direct display of the growth, When WebStorm's helping you out too. Yeah, I definitely appreciate all the extra tools that we have now. I've in the past I had written more code than I'd like to admit in just like Notepad or Notepad++. Even Notepad++ is not awful. But the tooling that we have now through WebStorm and Visual Studio Code, or what's the big one? Visual Studio, I guess. It's come a long way. It has come a long way. Okay, torus. We will bring in all these imports again. We'll call it torus. We are pulling in this instead. Torus. Don't need you anymore. We're pulling all this code. A ban command wasn't hard to fix with a var. So are you doing a Discord bot? It sounds like it. I mean, if you're not, the fact that you mentioned both the extension and a ban, I feel like that's not a huge jump to make that guess that you're making a Discord bot. I've definitely noticed too the I don't know if it is. var has definitely been around a lot longer, and it's sort of gone out of vogue to use var. But depending on, there's these like little niche communities that end up like building up, and some of them actually learn their programming as part of like that niche community. So like I've looked at some Discord bots that are using var everywhere, and it's sort of wild to see that, as I don't tend to see it much anymore. But you look in that niche and like everybody's using var. Like it's just that those best practices kind of that developed over time, and based on the people that were establishing them and writing some of these lower level bot implementations that everybody now uses. If they write all their examples in var, everybody coming in to do a Discord bot is going to start using var as well. It's definitely interesting to see how that develops. Okay, Taurus. We need to pull in the props. We need to set this to default. That should all be fine. Our reward is going to say drop. I'm just going to call it a Taurus. So what library are you using to write your bot with? Is it a gateway bot or is it a slash command? I guess they call it. Slash command is kind of that newer implementation that it seems like Discord's pushing everybody to switch to. I don't know if they've gotten to announcing when they're going to deprecate the gateways, but it sounds like it's potentially going to happen, despite what people are hoping. Okay, I think we just want to pull this in. Discord.js. Gotcha. Yeah, I wrote a bot. I think I did a bot a long time ago with Discord.js, and then the one that I wrote afterwards, I used Eris, I think it is. I want to say it's something like Eris bot something or other written like that, and it was fine. There seemed to be some stability issues, and when they announced the new slash command stuff, everything that I was doing with that bot actually was served just as well via slash commands. So I ended up converting that into a serverless environment through Netlify, and hooked the slash command stuff up to that. So it's sort of more just like raw Rust calls now. Yeah. There goes my music. These died. There are still some things though that you can only do if you're using a gateway bot. I don't know what they plan to do that. And headphones. There we go. All right. Let's get the rest of these finished up here. So Taurus material. So we can get rid of the mesh because that is replaced. I think that's it that we need to do here. Let's go into our index. Go ahead and import it. Spiky sphere. Bump Taurus. And spiky sphere. We'll put in another instance, bump. need better posture. That's goofing up my typing. All right. Where's that? Do I have posture check in here? Yeah, I do. Hydration posture check. Gotta use it sometime, right? Okay, so Taurus should be in there now. Let's go ahead and do start. And do you like the command? I think it's pretty fun. It's a fun way to thanks. It's a fun way to oh my gosh. Little random star. So this is what happens when you generate a whole bunch of things that all sort of appear in the same location. Okay. We're getting connection fused. That's fine. Why can't I clear that? My console is stuck. That's weird. Seems Chrome is struggling a bit on that. Weird. Greatest thing ever. Yes. I do enjoy the chaos. I was wondering why I was showing up every time. We merged in a change earlier today where I forgot to filter out all the chat messages. And I need to put this in the description below, but if you do 3D, that actually shows up on the main overlay. And then you can do index and a number, and it will do a dynamic color. I think it goes up to 640 is what we determined. So that's what's supposed to happen every time you use the command. But this is, I haven't merged in from the main branch the code to make that go away. So that's all WebGL as well. So it's text written into a WebGL. Okay, so we have the chaos coming in from the Taurus. That appears to be working. So let's do the spiky sphere. Well, we'll worry about the import in a second. Grab all this. We want to call it sphere. We want to grab this piece. I hit save. I meant to select both of those. We need, I guess I can just copy all of this. And then we need this. And we will, I think I mentioned this before, but we will abstract this code out here. We don't really need, I mean, this is going to be pretty much the same for everything, I'd imagine. And we'll need some import or some way to tweak this based on the number of models we have, so things don't just explode. We'll have to figure out a good way to handle that though. Because we can tweak the location, but the location is also dependent on the size of the object. So if you have a really big object, we need to give it more space to not produce or teleport an object into the same space. You're going to work on a fix for Apexerator, which is a Discord bot, to show some cool Apex Legends info. Ah, nifty. Cool. Okay, use alert. And we got to do the rigid body stuff and the instanced meshes. Copy this. It's kind of funny that so this is actually coming out of the model. Oh, and I didn't do the material either. So we actually have that node named cube. So it probably makes sense to, when we're doing our models, pay a little bit more close attention to it. I don't really care because they're coupled pretty tightly. So it's not the end of the world that like this having it called nodes.cube doesn't make sense, but it's a little annoying. Okay, so that should be in there. We'll do this. What are you doing? Unterminated string constant. Closing quotes. Forgot about that. Okay, so now we should have spiky spheres drop into. I don't know that I saw any. Oh. We didn't because we don't have them down here. Oh my goodness. Let's go ahead and reload that. Anyways, catching up a little bit there, I think. We have that random instance down there. Oh, I've got a mesh. I forgot to delete the mesh. I know it. I know what the issue is. We added in an instanced mesh, but we forgot to remove the original mesh. And that's why they're showing up. That's so much chaos. I kind of like that those spiky balls are blue. Yeah, we'll have to hook up the material stuff. That's just so much chaos. Okay. Let's get. What did I change in star? Oh, okay. That's fine. We'll do spiky sphere first. Spiky. No, I mean, honestly, the reason I put it in there is so it's fun to press the button. Physics is fun. I enjoy them. Despite what trying to learn about it in school told me otherwise. Okay. Some of my physics teachers were pretty good. And I definitely did go into some of that. So, say la vie. But it's not always the most interesting of topics. Okay, spiky sphere. Implement spiky sphere. Nope. Let's not push it. We want to do the torus. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Implement bump torus. The chaos that will ensue. All right, what should we do with this cup? This cup is giving us issues. So I've committed the cup files. I'm tempted to say we just set it aside for the moment. Let's go ahead and push. We will open up a commit. Stream overlay, compare and contrast, or compare and compare and pull request. Okay, compare and contrast. Oh boy, we're talking about school, and apparently I got that stuck in my head now. Yeah, so part of the reason I implemented it with the channel points is we can actually set a cooldown. I can probably pull it up in a minute because we need to add in things for the other items to drop. But we can put it on a cooldown. So it's nice to have the points low because I don't want to like restrict people from using it. And the chaos can be kind of fun, but also there's only a certain amount of chaos that I think makes sense before it starts detracting from, hopefully the reason you're here is to see some code too. So what we can do is, depending on the amount of people, we can actually on the fly tune the timeout. So we could have it set to, like, we could leave it at 5 channel points, or maybe we bump it up to 25. But we can set a timeout and just have it, you can run it every 2 minutes, and you can have it apply to everybody in the chat. So it could be triggered once every 2 minutes by anybody in the chat. Which would still be fine because we are, we're going to have 4 or 5 models in here. So nice. Trying all the things now. Hey, I'll take the and posture check is probably a good thing too, because I just shifted and I'm not sitting well again. Come here. Come on. Oh. Kitty is looking at my green screen and I see this thing moving out of the corner of my eye. Why do you have so much points? Okay. More models. Pull in models from past few streams. Now that we have some structure on our events and triggers, we can pull in more of the models. Okay, sure, we'll do that. All right, so while that's loading, let's see if I can pull up Twitch here. We can add. I'm gonna open it on the side here for a moment just to make sure there's no nothing that I need to be worried about sharing. Dashboard. Oh, did you do a hydrate? I need to add sounds too. Oh, hi, kitty. Okay, whatever. Channel points. Manage. Okay. I think this is pretty safe to show. So you can see all of our channel rewards. I've got the drop column. And if we go into edit, this is what I was talking about. we can set a cooldown. And we could set the cooldowns per user or for the whole stream. So I suspect that these values will sort of evolve over time, and it would be nice to put a picture and such in here too. But for the moment, and then there's also, we can take, where's the button? Require viewer to enter text. Yep. So we can have text. One of these I thought had it. No, I guess not. Okay. Nope. All right. So we're going to add a new customer word, and we're going to call it drop stars. And actually, now that I say that, I think I forgot to change. Hi, kitty. Yes. I know you want some attention. So we called that one drop star. And we forgot to change the, I changed one. Here we're gonna call it bumpy Taurus. And we're gonna say spiky sphere. Spiky sphere. So we just gotta remember to be consistent when we are, it's an unknown word. Spiky is unknown. Spikely? That's a word, but spiky isn't. Okay. Well, we're gonna ignore that. Git commit fix event filters for torus and sphere. All right. So we're gonna do drop stars. Drop some stars on the scene. I don't remember what I called the other one, but we can make it consistent as we go. Sure. Oh, well, actually, I'm not going to do blue. This feels like maybe a purple. I want to do blue because the spiky spheres are actually blue. And that just feels right. Okay, great. So we've got drop stars and drop columns, and I'm kind of surprised you can't sort them. I think what I'm going to do is make this one 10. I'm assuming it's then going to sort it below. So it's sorting it by cost. Yeah. Spikily. All right. And then we want to do a drop bumpy Taurus. Drop a Taurus with lots of bumps into the scene. 5 is fine. That's all fine there. And then we will do one more. Drop spiky sphere. Drop a sphere with a bunch of spikes into the scene. Trying to think of a good pun. Drop a sphere into with a bunch of spikes into the scene. I love puns. And I think that was blue. I believe I said I wanted to make it blue because it is blue. And that's fine. Okay, so we got a bunch of drops now. And those should be live. Terrible pun. Yes. Yes. Which makes it an amazing pun. Don't fight me. Or fight me. I'm not changing my mind. That's what we're getting to. Okay, so we push that out. It should be deployed. There we go. Let's just assume that it's fine. Then we'll go ahead and reload our scene, and we should be able to. I have not seen that before. Interesting. Okay. So I gotta if that works, it works. We just merged it in, so now the file's got to build it, which I can watch on my other screen. Okay, building. And then we'll just refresh the the stream scene when it's done building. Stop licking my. This kitty is kind of a goof. She'll just like lick random stuff. Say hi. Are you gonna talk for me? No. Talkative, kind of a cuddle muffin, and will lick random stuff. It's funny how all animals are kind of got their own personality. Okay, it's done. Site is live. All right, let's go ahead and give that a refresh. And I believe it's going to drop everything first time around here. That's fun. That's fun. And it looks like the mass actually comes in differently too. So I wouldn't mind actually playing around with that a little bit, because some things are going to have more mass, so they'll bounce a lot less. So I think if you do redeem the other stuff now, we should be able to see like the other things fall down too. IntelliSense does take a second to fully warm up in any ID. Yeah, it's relatively common. The bomber. Why didn't that work? That one worked. What's the deal with the stars? Why aren't you working? Okay, so that one works. I feel like it's just a weird perspective. I might have to like play around with this perspective a little bit though, because those are supposed to be circles and they kind of did not look like circles. All right, stars, what are you doing? All right. And I think it should work too if you redeem a bunch of them all at the same time. Oh my gosh, this is just gonna like fly now. Okay, let's do a git checkout main git. You want to do something? Yeah. It's gonna be hard to chain them all together. I think it'll be easier with the bigger stuff to see those collisions. And I think I want to put a little bit of a bigger plane down on the bottom here or something. So it has more to bounce off of. The downside of something bigger there is that we might have stuff drop and get stuck. So I'm gonna need like a bulldozer to come across and just push everything off. Yeah, that's fun. That's fun. Okay, so stars. Why are we not working? The stars on the cup. Close Twitch for the moment. The chaos that didn't. Yep. Yes. Okay. All right. If we run the stars now to see it drop in our browser, why aren't you doing anything? Drop stars. Did I like name it differently or something? Find the fix. Got cat hair all over my keyboard now. I literally said I gotta be careful that I'm spelling these right. Whoops. Okay. Star drop event name. So I'm committing this one directly to the main branch. This repo I've mostly just been working on myself, and that's sort of going to be the long-term intention. If I am this shouldn't break anything. I would be incredibly surprised if I broke something when I push this. I'm likely going to do a combination of pushes directly to the main branch or pull requests. The time that I would do a pull request, like when we just did a bunch of the cups, or a bunch of the models. Sorry, I'm literally looking at the word cup. There was a little bit more implementation there, and I wanted to make sure that would build before I just pushed it out to the main branch. And at least off stream, when I make these pushes, I will check them after they stand up. And with Netlify, we get a deploy preview. So if we push it to PR, we can make sure it builds. We can get a deploy preview. We can check it, and then when we feel good about it, then we can merge it in. So I'll probably end up doing a combination of stuff of commit directly to the main branch here or pull request, but generally I pretty much always do pull request, even if it's just a project that I'm working with, because I can make sure that when I am working on something, I'm always going to have the main branch in a good state. So I can prototype or do whatever I want on a different branch and not worry about breaking. We've always got that base that's always going to be in a good state. What was the other point I was going to make with that? Yeah, so like when you do a pull request, you can do whatever you want in there, make sure it works, and then merge it into one that's good. And then that lets you actually do multiple things in parallel. And you can then also push in work in progress commits and not worry about, basically having a broken state on your main branch. So I've got multiple computers. I can push more frequently to a branch, grab my other computer, head over to the couch, watch a TV show with my wife, and work on it there. And now I'm not breaking the main branch. I'm just working off of a separate branch and doing the pull requests. So push to main, that should be coming up. We can try the star again in a second. I don't know if I'll need to reload. I might need to reload it. We'll find out. How are we doing? We're coming on about 2 hours. I don't know if we're going to be able to solve this cup. We can take a peek here quick. But I don't know that we're going to be able to figure it out. And the main issue is that instance mesh, we've been filling in this value here. Well, these two values, I guess. And I think the physics system expects those to be filled in. So if I've got multiple meshes and I want to keep them tied together and have physics applied to the whole group, I don't know how to do that yet. It feels like this should work, but it doesn't like that. And like, this is the way to do instances as far as I understand. So do an instance mesh, set these to null, and have meshes within here. I don't even know if I need that group, to be honest. That was just me trying to see if I could get anything to work here. But I don't think we actually need the group. So those multiple meshes should then be one instance. But if we start this up and we uncommented out the import and include the cup, the chaos. It's also, am I dropping any frames? It doesn't look like it. Doesn't look like it. Thanks. Although you said no need to thank you, so I guess I retract the thanks. I also put all these streams up on YouTube, although I'm behind. It's been busy lately. So if you are interested in past streams, especially around this topic, we've been working on Blender and 3D and React Fiber for a handful of weeks here now. And now that I finally got a lot of this working, why is this not? There we go. Holy cow. You accept things. Okay, that makes sense. I do get what you're saying. So I reaffirm my thanks. So you can accept it despite you not expecting it. Okay, yeah, so this reading clone. So it's doing some clone of the geometry. So we need to give it geometry, I guess? And I don't know that. So a rigid body can only have one instanced mesh, I believe. I wonder if we do a group. Can we do multiple instanced meshes and group them? Let's just like copy this down here. Just so we got a backup of it. Really? You're not gonna like that? Fine. Fine, whatever. Let's see if we can do multiple instanced meshes and group them together. Group. Mesh. And then we give this one the cup. So this one, when we were working at it, I actually paid better attention to within the collection naming each piece of the geometry. So it is much clearer that this is a cup. And this, I did it on the wrong one. This is the handle. And we only did one material for both, which is perfectly fine. And I guess we want to receive shadows too. And delete. So the problem that we ran into is that it says we can only have one instance of it. I was about to say it didn't immediately crash, but maybe it is. So we've got the default that I have set is 25 instances. So now we've got basically 4 or 5 models, all with 25 instances. So at some point, this may not scale. I don't understand why Chrome is like tweaking out and I can't. My console is just tied up. It's so weird. I don't know if it's because it's working on rendering. Is the stream stuttering? Are we getting missed frames? Because it might be basically a performance thing. Here, okay. So you can only use a single instance mesh inside an instance rigid bodies. More instanced meshes will be ignored. So despite us having a group and one instanced mesh, there you go. The other thing we can try is we already have a group. That kind of just comes in with the default export. I don't know that the group there is helping us out much. But it might actually be helping us out here. So now we've got 2 instanced rigid bodies. And they're grouped. So I don't know if they're actually going to like stick together. Oh boy, okay. We're not getting any errors. It's hard to see everything coming in here now. Okay. So this is funny. But it makes sense. Here, let's go ahead and take everything else out. So it's a little bit clearer what we're seeing. And it should run a little bit faster. We got cups and we got handles. They're not sticking together. They are getting physics separately. So this isn't going to work. I think we need one instanced rigid body. If we do multiple instanced meshes, it's ignoring it. So what I had been looking at was the demos and such of the instanced meshes in React 3 Rapier. You can see they're mostly only using one instanced mesh. So let's see if we can find a place where they're using more than one mesh. So, HTML, interesting. Oh, got it. For some reason, I read that as audio. HTML, I think, is just a way to do like text basically within the scene. So each of these have that rigid body has multiple. And we've got mesh and we've got use GLTF. It is all shapes is pulling in all of these things. So let's look at the instance to mesh. So this might be part of the other issue too, is the instance mesh might have less or different capabilities at the moment. It's still a little bit of a newer library. Oh, there's a scale in the group. That's kind of handy. So you know how we said before, I wasn't sure if the group was actually doing anything for us. I think it might actually be doing something for us. When we create an instance, we have a piece of geometry. That geometry itself isn't the thing that the physics system is actually determining or using to determine if there's a collision event. It actually uses a thing called a collider, and you can have various types of colliders, and I think you can do custom ones too, maybe. But it's basically saying, hey, we got a shape like this, and we're going to try to figure out what would be collision points in this thing, and basically like almost wrap it and have just an object that is the thing that detects if there's a collision. So if we put it in a group, we're going to have, and a little bit of a guess here, but we're going to have all the instances, each with their own collider. And this group is keeping those all together. And in this case, they're actually scaling that whole group. So we get both the object and the collider, or I guess the geometry or the mesh and the collider, and they're over the top of each other, and we're scaling that whole thing and making it smaller. So I suspect that we do want to actually keep the group. I still am not seeing a way, though, to have multiple meshes within a single instance rigid body. We definitely do have a bunch of cases where they're using rigid body and having multiple meshes. Let's see if we can look at the code right quick here. So instance rigid bodies, they're doing use layout effect and a whole bunch of stuff. There's the context, and here we get the 3D object, which also includes all the children. So we've got rigid bodies and collider. We were running into issues with the for each. So I imagine it's something of the sort where we are use ref rigid body API. So it's traversing all of the meshes here. So if we has one mesh. Got it. So this is how they're checking if there's more than one mesh. So they're only actually processing it, basically early returns if it runs in an additional mesh. So how do we deal with that? Can we have like nested meshes? Three.js nested mesh. So we've got groups. Its purpose is to make working with groups of objects clearer. Scale and nested meshes. So like to the actual instance itself, what we're trying to do is expose just one mesh and have it do everything applied to a nest of multiple meshes. Wrap Three.js mesh on another mesh. So we have the groups, so we can create a group and you can apply modifications to the group now instead, such as they note here scale and rotation, which is fine. But I don't know that that is going to help us here. Oh, that's kind of nifty. I think it's specifically an issue with, because normally to nest them, you just add multiple meshes. And the only reason we're dealing with that is because of the physics system. Let's see if they've got any notes in the issues. Can groups within rigid body receive scale, position, and rotation? Scale seems to work, but position and rotation are not. Okay, so there appears to be an issue with position and rotation of a group. They're showing the colliders. Meshes are not syncing properly with physics objects. I'm not seeing anything. Yeah, you could tell this hasn't been around too long because this is literally all the issues, or at least all the closed issues. So, hi, Kate, guys, coming up here. So we might kind of be SOL on that. We might have to try to export it as a single mesh out of. Come on, out of Blender. That might be the easiest fix right now. Let's see if we can do that. If we can't do that, I think that might be end up being where we call the stream. Saying hi to everybody. Yeah. Cup is the thing that we care about right now. So in that collection, we've got a cup and a handle. Can we like combine them somehow? Blender, combine two meshes. Join to make both meshes into one object. Go into the object menu. So if I select both of those and we do object, it said there was a join. Okay. Hey, well, okay. That was actually easier than I expected. And I mean, I think there's going to be cases where we don't want to join those pieces together. But I suspect that's probably fine for right now to, in this case, combine them together. So let's go ahead and save. We'll re-export it. We'll get it into the scene, and I think that is going to be where we call it. Let's make sure to check apply modifier. We didn't do geometry nodes in this, so that doesn't really matter. But I already checked it, so it's fine. We'll run our mpx command again, and we're going to run it on the cup. We're going to use the existing cup that we have. We need to do drop cups. I think we're going to say cups. Do we do drop specky sphere? I guess we do. I guess we make them all plural. That's probably the right call here. Make them all plural. I guess that is already plural. um, okay, cup transformed. That's fine. That's fine. We are only going to have one instance now. So we should be able to just do this because everything else I'm presuming should be the same. We close bundler, so I'm going to remove the backup copy. We'll take a quick peek. Yep. Nodes.cup. And there are some scale and rotation applied to it. I don't know that I need the position. Honestly, I don't even know if I need the rotation either. But we will do the scale. And I think we do want the scale on this. Because that will mean that our collider also scales. So we should just have the cups in here now. What is with these dev tools? That is so weird. I've not seen the dev tools lock up like that before in Chrome. Okay, can we see the handles? Are the handles on there? Stuff is dropping too fast. I think I am. Well, a rotation isn't gonna be applied. We just read that it's not. Can we put it on the mesh? Will it let us do it on the mesh? That was not what I was expecting. Okay. All right. Well, it's weird because I feel like they should be hitting something on the way down, but they are not. I mean, we could set the rotation. Translation, set rotation. Like we could set it here. I don't even know what would be a good. Oh, I guess we've got the rotations from this, don't we? We can try that. So this rotation is in radians. I mean that'll be fine. So we need to do a channel parent redemption, I believe. Yes. So let's go ahead and do that real quick here. We can test it out, push it up, and did we get these? Is the stars working now? Let's try the stars. I just realized my music stopped in it. Let's do some. Oh, I missed. Did the stars drop? Yeah, let's do a columns just to make sure those are working. Okay, we didn't break that. Yep, we appear to have to reload. So, let's go to creator dashboard. We'll open up the channel parent redemptions, get those updated. Your rewards, channel points, edit. Okay, we can bring that over. All right, we want to say drop spiky spheres, column stars, and then we want to also do a drop cups. What should we do for, I feel like a burgundy or something maybe? That feels like a good color. All right, drop cups. And we renamed the other ones, so those should all be set. Let's do a drop cups here. We should be able to see it immediately reflected in our scene. There we go. No, they did turn. So we can probably do, we turned them this way. They were this way, so we turned them like this. And if we want to rotate them this way, I think Y is up. So if we say something like 1.0, yeah, we'll go a little bit more. We'll say 1.5. We'll say 4.7 because the other one is that. I don't know that it is going to matter that much, but there we go. I think that looks pretty good. They bounce pretty good. All right, cool. Let's get this one pushed up. Get it reloaded. We'll give it a quick shot, and we will call it a day. Those are all good. GLTF. We have fixed all our imports. I just did that. Yep. What's the spiky sphere have? Oh, yep, I changed that. So that should be spheres. Torus should be fine. And stars we pushed. Stars we pushed already, right? Star. Drop stars. Yep. Cool. So we're on main. We'll go ahead and just commit this to main. Implement hot beverage cup drop. Okay, that should give us build. I'll open that up on the side here. So we can make sure it deploys. We'll refresh, give it a try. And while that is happening, I am going to see if there's anybody in my feed that's worth raiding. Or if there's anybody feed that I could raid. It's a little bit on the late side. I'm not really seeing anybody. So maybe we'll just skip it today. All right, site is live. Let's go ahead and refresh. Let chaos ensue as everything drops at the same time. There we go. That's fun. That's fun. It's not gonna get old. So if we do a couple of them here. Nice. Apparently we have Go away. Okay, cool. I think what should we do next time? Next time might end up being a little bit of Blender. I do want to do. We had worked on a chair last time, I think. I think I might want to try finishing that up. So then we have a whole handful of options. Yeah, kind of go from there. I think as this gets used more, we might want to shift things around and maybe tweak the channel point redemptions options. And maybe we'll have to tweak where they come in. So when they come in, it isn't just things exploding everywhere. Although when we reload the scene and everything drops, it doesn't look too bad. So like maybe the chaos is fine. There's a little bit of random in where the things drop. So we have like a set limit that puts it above the screen for sure. And then we have the math.random. And I think everyone in my copying and pasting, I think we kept them all the same, of which we're going to abstract this out. So, you know, don't be too pained over this copying pasting. But yeah, so we got a math.random against or times 50. So we've got basically a minimum amount, so it for sure stays above the screen when it first spawns in. And then it can be arbitrarily higher, up to 50. So things will have collisions, but it's not going to be like literally everything appearing in the same exact spot and it just exploding and going everywhere. So it might be fine. This might scale for a while. Yeah, so next time, maybe we do a little bit of Blender stuff next time. I think we're probably hitting towards the end of what I wanted to do with the React 3 Fiber. We're gonna over time we'll keep working on the stream overlay. I think it's kind of fun. Yoshi Boy definitely enjoyed it. So I think we'll definitely keep working on it. But we might do a couple more models, do a little bit more Blender stuff, and then we might end up switching topics here. There's a couple hardware projects, one of which we set down working with Raspberry Pi and in e-ink screen. We might pick that back up. And there's some other hardware things that I might end up wanting to do in that same vein. But we'll see. We'll see. Definitely a couple more Blender streams though, at least in the near future. So cool. Well, thanks everybody stopping by. I will see you next time. Have a good weekend and keep experimenting. Bye.